Every successful person got there by going through tough times. Success is a hard-ass teacher who likes to knock you around along that journey. You know, it takes real guts to not give up and keep going. We'll hear stories about failures and how these leaders flip the script to create success. I'm John Schultz. Join me and let's discover how success is never really overnight. Welcome to the John Schultz podcast. Very excited to be here today. We have an amazing guest, Ray Leonard Jr., who's the oldest son of boxing legend, superstar Sugar Ray Leonard. And Ray has an amazing career that we're going to hear about today. He was the CEO of Leonard Sports and Entertainment. He co-founded Launch Team Consulting. He was a former two-sport division collegiate athlete, both football and track, at Ohio State University, a former sports agent, an unbelievable podcast called Know Better, Do Better, which he has so many streams and way more streams than I do. And what I love the best is he's a husband and father of 4 wonderful children. Ray, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, John. It's great to be on. Love listening to a few of your shows already and love what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm learning from the master, you. So I'd like to start off. Obviously, you've had an interesting upbringing and childhood. And, you know, when you were a kid, obviously you accompanied your dad around the world to his training camps. What surprised you, though? And, you know, when you started traveling the world at such a young age and, you know, seeing all these things that obviously most people don't get to see at such a young age.
Well, what surprised me was the openness from a lot of people that were thought to be or who were these amazing dignitaries or big time stars. You know, I came from 2 teenage parents. My mother was 15 and my father was 16 when I was born. Like, we didn't have much at all. And all of a sudden we're thrown and thrust into the spotlight and we're meeting people that we never thought we would be able to meet. Traveling outside of my block was kind of the biggest thing back in the day, but then all of a sudden I'm sitting there having a lunch with the Queen of England, or I'm talking to Nelson Mandela, or reading a book with James Baldwin. I mean, it was just insane to think about it, but it was just my life at the time. So that was probably the most difficult thing, was just being around people and not really knowing how to act. I didn't have no traditional training and background, so I was just, this little shy kid that was in a place where, I was overwhelmed by the people that I was around.
It's wild. I mean, you're right. It's like we see all those people on TV or, never get an up close and personal view of them, which is amazing. Did anyone stand out? Because I know, like, when I was young, I mean, I didn't have all that access, but I had a few uncles that just literally changed my life on a few things that they did or said to me. Was there anyone that stands out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I may get in trouble for this, but one of the people that stood out was Bill Cosby. A lot going on with him, but yeah, he was one of the people that stood out because he took time to try to educate me, to give me the importance of being a young Black man, to standing up, to being a role model, but yeah, that he was one that stood out. Really, the athletes, it was kind of my family was an athletic family, so they didn't really stand out that much, even though it was like I'm sitting with Michael Jordan or Muhammad Ali. It was more so the people that were the activists that were making more of an impact that kind of stood out to me. So James Baldwin, he made me want to read more just by being around him. Sammy Davis Jr. It was just amazing to see how smooth he was, not just as an entertainer, but as a person that talked eloquently and that was set to want to make a difference.
And it's just amazing, because I'm thinking about who helped me as I was younger growing up. And, you never really want to get the advice from your parents, right? You sort of want to seek it elsewhere because you're always like, I gotta be better, better than them. And, I want to make them proud. So asking for help as a young person normally is hard, and you seek outside, and you had like all these amazing people, which is terrific.
Yeah, it's funny. You think your dad is uncool. And my dad was like one of the most popular people in the world, but I'm like, it's just my dad.
Well, I mean, that commercial, right? I mean, I guess, what was it, 7 Up?
Yeah, 7-Up commercial.
I mean, you just nailed it. I mean, you did that so naturally, and that's actually what is one of the most famous commercials ever. When you said, "He's just my dad," that's like, it's like
so
unbelievable.
Background story on that. I mean, I was, I think, 7 years old, and I had never been in front of a camera before, and I didn't want to do it. My father actually had to bribe me with to buy a 3-wheel motorcycle at the time, a little dirt bike, 3-wheel dirt bike, for me to actually do the commercial, which would have been a terrible business decision if I didn't make it, because it allowed me to have some a little nest egg.
Yeah, listen, what the I guess when they play it, you keep getting little vigs off the commercial, or?
Yeah, they don't play it much anymore. But back when they used to play it, there would be little checks just showing up all the time. And I think they ran that commercial for about 15 to 20 years, because everybody thought I was 7 years old for when I was like 25.
That's so funny. You show up, they're like, "Oh my God, you got so big." That's hilarious.
It was like 25 years ago.
So I'm sure all this molded you, because all of our experiences do. It doesn't matter what they are. So as you started your career, and you've done so many great things. I mean, yeah, look, what I love about you, and I don't know you that well yet, but like, it just feels like you're not afraid to try and actually like get outside your comfort zone. And maybe like seeing all these people in your life gave you that. But when you started your career in your life, how did you find your distinct voice, like your message, being that obviously, you've been around a lot of people that are so successful at like higher levels than most people even dream of. And here you are now having to start your career. How did you find yourself?
It took a while for me to find my authentic voice, because I knew I was never going to be a 6-time world champion in 5 different weight divisions, but I knew that I had my own imprint to make on the world. I was fiercely independent, sometimes so to a fault, because I didn't want to ever have someone say, "Here, you were given this by your father." I wanted to be my own self-made man, and that's kind of what I did. I really worked upon that, and it was the drive that led me to say, failure is first part of getting towards success. So I wasn't fearful of failure, because I knew I'd done it before. I can make money. If I lose it, I'll make it again. But then I had to redefine what success was to me. At first, success to me was just doing something in the sports business, and creating my own path, and hoping people knew my name outside of my father's name, and not just Sugar Ray Leonard's son. But then secondarily, I had to be comfortable in my own skin and define success of what it was going to be, not just financially, but independence, about being a good person, about being a role model, about leaving an impact on the world. And so that was kind of my driving force. And the fact that my grandfather told me know better and do better was the thing that I knew that I had the opportunity every single day when I got up to be better than I was the day before.
That's, I have a successful my father's very successful in real estate. So, and I went into real estate. So I totally can resonate with what you mean. But I think what it did for me is it drove me. And you some of the things that are the worst things you feel are what actually makes you be what you are. And I'm seeing you, I see the self-made t-shirt right now. I love that. And but you almost thank those things, right? You thank those feelings that really were painful in different ways to actually project you into what you are today. And there's times where it serves you, and then there's times where it doesn't, and you just got to learn how to manage that, I think, right? Did you feel that as well?
Well, I learned that I didn't want to follow my father in his footsteps when I was about 16 years old, and I started playing football, and I was getting a little bigger. So I decided to challenge my father, and he punched me in my stomach really hard, and I took the and said, "This is the end of this." So I knew I wasn't going to do that, because I didn't like getting punched in the face. It was but yeah.
Do you think sports molded? Like, how do you think sports? Because a 2-sport collegiate athlete is no joke. It's hard enough to be one, and it's hard enough to even like compete in college ever, actually. So how do you think that molded you in your business career? And like, what helped you with that?
I got to see early on the what hard work can do, and believing in yourself, that having that self-esteem and believing in yourself, what that could do. Just watching my father, my uncle was #2 ranked boxer in the world before he had his bout with drugs and alcohol. But I got to see here, if you work for it, and it doesn't matter how you need skill, but the people that actually work the hardest are the ones that have the biggest success. So athletics gave me discipline, especially in a team sport. I got to run track and field on the USA team, and run in Russia, run in Spain when I was in high school. So the little success that I had, for a lot of people, it would be great success for me to be a two-sport athlete in college and be on the USA team. But for me, it was discipline and learning how to be coached. Knowing you can't be a leader unless you can be led. So those are the kind of things that I learned from athletics. And sports is kind of a dominant thing in our family, in our household. I told my kids, you don't have to go professional, or you don't have to go collegiate in sports, but you will play sports because it teaches you valuable lessons about how to work with others, how to be disciplined, and how to figure things out.
Yeah, I so agree with that. I mean, and even if it's any group or passion that you have that has a team around it with a coach, I just think that creates such life learning lessons when you're young. You got to learn how to get along with someone, how to listen, how to take advice, even criticism at times, right? And in business is just that every single day, right? There's a fixed mindset or a closed mindset, or an open mindset. And I think sports and any team event helps you gather that. And, you're a coach, obviously you're a mentor, inspirational speaker, and you're good at it. And what you bring up in your talks and your coaching, that you need to figure out like what defines you. So what do you feel now that you have some experience in everything that you've done, defines you as a person?
I think what defines me is, my inner why. It's why I get up in the morning. That's what I'm defined by, of what I leave behind, how I treat my family, how I treat other people. The words that someone else will say about you when you leave the room, having character, being a person that is reliable. That's kind of the thought process of what I'm defined by. I'm not defined by being an athlete. I'm not defined by being a business person, the mark you leave, the actions. I think the actions are what you're defined by. So for me, it's important to be a good person. It's important to want to help others, to be of service. It's important to do something that you're remembered by, because we're not here for a super long time on this world, and we have a time you can leave your mark within a short period of time. So I want to be remembered as someone that did good and left the world in a better place than I was born into.
And you're doing that a lot, right, with your inspirational speaking. Why don't you talk a little bit about that? I mean, obviously before the pandemic, I'm sure it was much more, and I want to bring this into your new Ovations company that you launched, which I didn't talk about yet, but like motivational speaking is hard. I mean, it's hard to deliver to an audience. How did you learn that skill, and how do you think that made you better as a business person?
I guess I was a pretty good communicator from a young age, but I was very shy. I didn't like to be in groups. I didn't like to speak a whole lot, which is, I guess, counterintuitive to what I'm doing now. But I kind of just came into it accidentally. My business partner, my consulting company, was a backseater in the Navy and one of the first women to integrate aircraft carriers. And so she asked me to speak at the naval base, and I just spoke from the heart. And that's kind of what I do when I speak. I speak from the heart. I tell my story, and they kept wanting to have me come back. And eventually, someone said, we'll pay you to come, do your presentation. And I said, oh, that's a thing. And once I started doing it, it became, a labor of love, because I saw the impact that I was having on other people. when you're speaking, I was speaking in the military, the Navy, about destructive behavior, about overcoming alcohol and drug abuse, about suicide prevention, because unfortunately I had all those things happen in my family. So when I talk about it, it's real to me. And when you hear somebody come up to you and say, what you said today made a difference in my life, and I didn't want to, take that other path that I could have chosen because of what you said today. It's knowing that you have an impact on somebody else that's positive, which just guides me. So when I speak, it's my life. It's real. It's authentic. When I talk about, you can be successful in business. I can talk about being a leader. I've been through it, and so I talk about it with a different kind of passion because I believe what I'm saying. It's not just a written down presentation. I believe what I'm saying.
And I mean, you just nailed it. First of all, this was like sort of a happenstance, right? Like this came out of something out of nowhere, but your belief systems growing up and understanding that you're able to authentic, like you're able to talk authentically about a topic, which I think is terrific. And this was probably the last thing you ever thought you would be doing.
Yeah,
right?
I never thought I'd be standing up in front of the crowd. I thought maybe I would be in front of a crowd singing or rapping or doing something that way. I never thought that I'd be, be talking about inspiration or talking about leadership or talking about DE&I. But as you grow as a person, you educate yourself, you add layers to you, because we all have different layers of what we are. So when I started doing it, it was just it was like therapy for me. It literally was. It was like therapy for me to be out in front of an audience, because I feel more comfortable in an audience of 5,000 than I do in a room of 5 people. So
Wow.
I guess it's the entertainer in me that opens up, and my style of speaking is what I call edutainment. So I don't want to sit there for 60 minutes and then just talk to you. I have videos, I have interaction, I have all different kinds of things that I do for my presentation. And it was something that motivated me every single morning to get up, because I wanted to go talk to more people. And then when the pandemic hit, everything kind of stopped. I was going to have my biggest year ever in 2020 as a speaker, and then all of a sudden it just stopped.
But it's so not, you leverage what you went through as a person to help other people, which the therapy part of that is transformative, right? I mean, now, because like when you're younger, because we all go through stuff, you can't make an impact or control it. And as you get older, to actually pull that out and actually be able to speak about it and help other people through it is the greatest thing you could do for other people and for yourself, right? Because you feel, it's like that. It's not that trap feeling anymore, which is tremendous.
Yeah, and I felt, for a long time that my life has been kind of an open book. I lived most of my teen years, most of my life in front of a camera in some shape or form, fashion, that people knew who I was, or kind of the perception of who we put out there to be. But yeah, it means being a teenager, and then everybody around your neighborhood knows exactly who you are, and cameras are flashing. So it was a different kind of childhood. So I'm used to the big stage, I guess.
That's great. Well, they say the speaking is like the number one fear besides death. So you've conquered like what most people have trouble doing, and that's terrific, because we need more people like you bringing all these great ideas to us. And what's so nice about this time with technology, and just from podcasting to all the different new forms of entertainment, we have that chance to learn from people we never could learn from before. And that brings me to ovations. So why don't you tell the audience, because I think this is fabulous, and we've had these discussions, because the CEO or that top person anywhere, they can speak about some stuff, but there's all these other people that we don't have access to learn from, that you're going to bring to bear. So why don't you give everyone a little bit of an understanding of what that is? And I'd like to talk a little bit about what you're trying to accomplish with this.
Yeah, to me, education is key. My greatest knowledge was learning from, my grandparents or other people that were subject matter experts or people with wisdom. We all have amazing stories to tell that can help and benefit and grow others. So when the pandemic hit, everything started to happen virtually, and I wanted to make an opportunity for other people who are TEDx speakers or authors or subject matter experts in different space to have the opportunity to tell their story and impact other people. And there was nothing out there that was kind of one-stop shop, one place where you can find that perfect speaker or perfect person for your space. You can go to Kayak and find your flights. You can go to Yelp and find food reviews, but there was no place that you can go find the person that you want, to speak at your event and just book them without having to go through 20 different agents and 2 different managers. So I said, let's build it. I met Mark McNally, who was the founder of this studio called Nobody Studios. It's a venture studio where we're building companies, and I'm a co-founder in that. But this company, Ovations, is super important to me because it gives a voice to people that haven't had the voice. It gives a platform to people that have amazing stories that need to be told. And it's an educational platform to help people grow and build and learn how to be presenters, how to use communication, because I think it's a lost art that we don't communicate the same way anymore. Some people would rather send a text than have a conversation on the phone.
So, and this is obviously going to launch soon, and this will allow you to actually, I guess, pick different industry people. Is it in person and on Zoom and all the different mediums? And the tech platform, I guess it's like a talent matcher. I've heard you say like Uber. So
Yeah.
Tell me how that works.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like Uber or VRBO for people, for speakers. And basically you're able to find the person in the industry and certain topic, certain price point. You're able to find and match them and book them, whether it's for a 15-minute virtual speech or whether it's for a live presentation or pre-recorded content. So there's 3 different ways that you can do it, right now. And everyone is able to have their own profile, to put their snippets up, to sell product through the platform. And we're just giving a voice to people that haven't had a voice. So the exciting thing about it is you can share your availability. So if you have an event that you need to spruce up really quickly, if you're a sales manager in Des Moines, Iowa, and you have a budget of $500 and you want to bring a subject matter expert into your meeting really quickly, you can do it within 15 minutes or a little 24 hours to be booked.
I love that. So seeing like your career, right? Now you have Ovations. You're involved in a lot of things, right? Being involved in so many things, how do you keep it straight? How do you keep yourself focused? And being a leader, how have you developed the people around you? And what do you think the impact that has been on you? Being mentors, how do you get through all this being such an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, a lot of it comes with the focus and the strategy, dedication, diversification, and delegation. So the 3 Ds. So I would be remiss if I said that all the things that I'm involved in, I'm able to do by myself. Well, some I have the vision on, some I'm an ambassador for, some I do the daily work, with Ovations being, the newest project and the passion. That's kind of what the focus is. But I still have do consulting in sports because I want the people that are these young athletes from high school to professional to have a mentor or somebody that learned, that's been through it and seen it from a different side that they've never seen previously. But I also know a lot of people. Like for the sports management company, I have a smart young attorney. Her name is Pamela Crockett, who runs my NIL division. And she is just, a great person to have around. So the marquee may say my name, but she's the one that runs the day-to-day. So that's kind of how I delegate and move. You got a lot of the CEOs around the world that have their hands in a couple different things. So diversification is key.
But I think you're staying in your lane, right? I mean, obviously, you've come to believe that the public speaking, motivational speaking, inspirational speaking is what it seems like you enjoy it the most. Absolutely. And it also seems like you get the most out of it, and you're successful at it. This seems like, you're staying in your lane, but you're now scaling not only yourself, but you're availing the scale to other people, which is great. And I can't wait to use it and be involved and help you in any way I can. During the pandemic, I think the way we communicate and how we're going to actually be able to scale through technology, right? Like Zoom and all the stuff that was there before you did it, but it wasn't like a mainstay and people weren't comfortable for it. Unfortunately, it took a pandemic for us to be there. So there's always some silver linings in how we move forward as a society. But there was also a lot of, hardship and, mental illness and mental health. And you hear the statistics today and it's crazy. And I know you talk about this. So like, what advice would you give entrepreneurs? That we all just went through this together on how to like move forward in a different manner.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things is to not fear failure. I mean, that's first and foremost as an entrepreneur. I mean, you learn lessons as you go forward, and not to make the same mistake over and over again. That's the insanity of it. And like when I talk about know better, do better, I mean, that's kind of what it is for an entrepreneur. You learn, seek out mentors. Don't be afraid to go ask questions, to get the answers to things you don't know. That was one of the biggest things when I first started out into business. I thought I knew everything. I thought I didn't need to ask anybody. I felt bad actually going to someone and asking for help because I didn't want to owe anybody anything. But you learn as you go. You're just as good as your net worth is your network, right? So the people that you're surrounded and the amount of education and wisdom that you can draw from as an entrepreneur will help you not make some of the mistakes that a lot of us already made. But you have to believe in yourself. You have to have that self-esteem, because sometimes when you're doing something that's disruptive, something that's different than what people will actually think or call normal, it's easy to get discouraged. So stay encouraged, believe in what you're doing. If you have something that's going to be transformational, stick with it. Most people dig their hole and get right close to the diamond, and don't get there because they give up too early. So
that's exactly it. I remember when I was younger, I started out in the real estate business as a broker. It was always the last door you knocked on, and then you're actually allowed to knock on doors and talk to people. It wasn't all email and internet. I mean, listen, I'm aging myself.
That's the real world. You had to go knock on doors.
I used to do it, and it was the last door when the receptionist, whoever was at the front, wasn't there. You could walk in and actually talk to the owner. And I truly believe that too. I think all of my success came from people around me. Like, obviously you have to have your own vision, your own conviction, and, your own discipline, and you got to move forward in what you do. But I really feel like the people that I met along the way are why I'm successful today. And like, whenever I talk to anyone, I'm like, your relationships are your best currency. That's the most important thing you can develop. And they always said when I was younger, you are the 5 people you hang around with. All these sayings that you never understood as a kid really come into full bear when you get into the business world, and you see like the impact of being able to pick up a phone and get a piece of information, or have someone actually talk to you in a way that you need to be talked to, right? Because they know you so well, and being humble. And what I love about you, like your humility and you're just, I think that's so important. And that's why you are where you are today. I think it's terrific. So okay. So you're know better, do better.
Right.
What a great name, right? You have to know better, which means you have to be willing to listen, to learn, right? You have to be able to take it in and say, well, now I know that, so I can do this a little better over there, no matter how I did it. How's your podcasting career going? What made you start one? And, why did you even get into that angle of, sort of talking to people?
Well, it's going amazing right now. I've finally figured out how to monetize it, how to do that. When
that's possible? I didn't even know that.
Yeah. When I first started, it was just kind of something that I thought was going to be able to continue building the brand and keep my name out there when the pandemic started, and to keep me engaged, to keep the mind rolling. I wanted to keep learning from people and figure out what they were going through, and have people tell the stories. And so, I talk about the stories of failure or lessons learned throughout the life, and I think it's an amazing thing to be able to do that and give people the platform to do it. So I've had some amazing people on there, from Eddie George to Lee Steinberg to my own. I actually interviewed my own father, and it was.
How'd that go? Was that fun or what?
That was hilarious, because I had a comedian named David Arnold on the show, and my mother on it at the same time. So it was hilarious.
Oh, I love that. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, they kind of took over. So, but what I love about the podcast platform is it gives you an opportunity to, to reach different audiences, to give your stories, to meet people that we may not have even thought about meeting. So it opens up the door to have conversations, and that's the kind of the greatest thing. I think communication is a lost art. Back when I used to have a Skyways, the SkyTel two-way pager or a pager, it was a different way of communicating, and you had to have the anticipation of waiting for somebody.
Dude, everyone's gonna think we're so old. We're talking about like knocking on doors, pagers, like fax machines. Like what is
you
it?
brought it up. I mean, you talked about knocking on doors, and it brought up a story in my head when I first started out as an agent, because you have to do the work. So it was a young athlete that I was trying to get in contact with, and there weren't cell phones then,
right?
But I knew the street he lived on, and so it was raining, pouring down rain, and I walked and knocked on every single door down the house until I found him and his parents to talk to him. So you said sometimes you got to do the work, but those stories are what help other people move forward and say, okay, here, they did it, so I can do it too.
But when you look back, that was the fun of what we got, why we're here right now. I mean, those stories, I have dozens of those stories on, how I met someone through doing something that no one really wanted to do. And I went to that last door and made that last call, and all of a sudden something happened out of nowhere. It's terrific. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, life is an interesting roller coaster, but it's fun when you sit back and look at it, look at the journeys that you've taken to get to where you are.
And what I love about you, look, you're starting something new again. Like, you are not afraid to start something new, even though you were pushed there. But a lot of people get pushed there and then they don't do it. And you should be proud of yourself. I can't wait to keep following what you do. This Ovations is going to be off the charts. I firmly believe it's a necessary thing for the environment we live in today. And I think, like I said, that's a scalable thing. And I think it's going to bring lots of cool things to so many people. So let me ask, so for people to follow you, where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, on social media, my branding's been pretty good. So everything is at Ray Leonard Jr. My website is
is good.
RayLeonardJr.com. That's on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. I don't have Snapchat. I'm not that cool yet.
I know, right?
But you can find me. It's easy to find me.
And when's Ovation? I know you have a website. When's Ovation launch?
Yeah, so we're launching internally, invitation only for in about 2 weeks, and then we'll launch to the general public in about I think we're about six to 8 weeks out. So
okay, good.
I never thought that I would be a professional speaker. Never thought that I would be a tech CEO, but here I am. So
that's the fun part of life, right? We never really know, and we're always wrong until we're right. That I can tell you. That's the way I roll. Well, thank you so much. This was so good. You're so inspiring. I know everyone's going to love this, and I can't thank you enough for doing this. Much appreciated by me.
Absolutely, John. You're an amazing person. Much success to you. Thank you for all you've done to help me move forward. So, we're looking for the best going forward. So I appreciate you. Best of luck with the podcast and everything else you're doing.
Thank you.